قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Today we are going to be refuting a Nasibi, and we're just going to dive right into it. Let us take a look at what this Nasibi has said.
And even Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq and Imam Musa Kazim and all the others who came after, they attribute teachings to them which they never said. So I would with confidence tell you that 90% of what you find in al-Kafi, Man la yahdur al-Faqih, al-Istabsar, al-Tahdhib is all fabricated and forged. 90%.
طيب. This is a very, very simple claim, and it is a claim that many of our opponents, many of the mukhalifin have been making, and inshallah I aim to completely refute this nonsense, inshallah. Firstly, when it comes to the claim that the Shia do not take from Imam al-Baqir, or do not take from Imam as-Sadiq, or do not take from Imam al-Khadhim, and rather what they attribute to them is lies, in order to refute this, we first have to prove that these Imams had their own system of fiqh. The first source we are going to be referring to is Ibn Qutayba's Kitab al-Ma'arif. Ibn Qutayba Dinawari is a very, very old, very well-respected scholar for the Mukhalifin, and he is sometimes known as Mutakallim Ahl Sunnah. In Kitab al-Ma'arif, page 125, the print of Dar al-Kutub al-Ilmiyah, we read the following. فأما محمد بن علي فكان يكنى أبا جعفر وكان له فقه تحتها خط أحمر. As for Muhammad ibn Ali, his kunya was Abu Ja'far, and he had his own fiqh, he had his own jurisprudence. Would the Mukhalifin kindly show us which of their four madhahib goes back to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, salamullahi alayh, or which of their books of fiqh have the reports of Muhammad al-Baqir and his ahkam fiqhiyah? Continuing on, وَمَاتَ بِالْمَدِينَةِ سَنَةَ 17 و100 فولد محمد جعفر بن محمد وعبد الله بن محمد وأمهما فروة بنت القاسم بن محمد بن أبي بكر وأمها أسماء بنت عبد الرحمن بن أبي بكر فأما جعفر بن محمد فيكنى أبا عبد الله وإليه تنسب الجعفرية ومات بالمدينة سنة 46 و100 وله عقب. In English, as for Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq salamullahi alayh, he mentions that Imam al-Baqir had two sons, Ja'far ibn Muhammad and Abdullah ibn Muhammad. Their mother was Farwa bint al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Their grandmother was Asma bint Abd al-Rahman ibn Abi Bakr. طيب. As for Ja'far ibn Muhammad, he was known as Aba Abdullah alayhi salam, and the Ja'fariya sect is attributed to him. He died in Medina in the year 146 after Hijrah, and he had descendants. Now, here's the thing. This is a very, very old source, as in we are talking about a scholar who was alive and writing during the time of al-Mutawakkil al-Abbasi. Why is he saying that Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq had their own jurisprudence? If these Imams had their own jurisprudence, why do the Sunnis who claim to be following the Imams, while we are the liars, we are the ones who misattribute things to them, why are we the only ones who follow their fiqh? Why are we the only ones that have narrations going back to them when it comes to ahkam fiqhiyah? The next source we are going to be looking at is the Muqaddimah of Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun is a scholar who requires no introduction, no pun intended. His Muqaddimah is one of the most famous books that the Muslim world ever produced in both the East and the West. In the Muqaddimah of Ibn Khaldun, in the Dar al-Kutub al-Ilmiyah print on page 354, Ibn Khaldun says the following. وَشَذَّ أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ بِمَذَاهِبَ ابْتَدَعُوهَا وَفِقْهٍ انْفَرَدُوا بِهِ وبنوا على مذهبهم في تناول بعض الصحابة بالقدح وعلى قولهم بعصمة الأئمة ورفع الخلاف عن أقوالهم وهي كلها أصول واهية. In English, and the Ahlul Bayt innovated some madhabs, and they themselves came up with their own jurisprudence. They based it upon the abuse of some of the Sahaba, saying that the Imams are infallible and forbidding the criticism of their statements. All of these are futile principles. So here we have the great sociologist and historian Ibn Khaldun admitting that these madhahib come from the Ahlul Bayt. That these madhahib are the result of the Ahlul Bayt themselves. No one is lying on the Ahlul Bayt. They themselves came up with these madhabs, and their fiqh is separate, it is unique, and it is built upon, the foundations is bara'ah of the Sahaba and the belief that their imams are ma'soom. And he, of course, believes these are futile principles. Lastly, and I wish to refute the Nasibi using his own master now. In Kitab al-Rad al-Subki by Ibn Taymiyyah, who the Mukhalifin refer to as Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah says the following regarding the fiqh of the Shia. He says, وَالرَّافِضَةِ يَجْعَلُونَهُمْ مَعْصُومِينَ كرسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ويجعلون كل ما قاله قولا نقلا عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ويجعلون إجماع طائفتهم حجة معصومة وعلى هذه الأصول الثلاثة بنوا شرائع دينهم لكن جمهور ما ينقلونه من الشريعة موافق لقول جمهور المسلمين فيه ما هو من مواقع الإجماع وفيه ما فيه نزاع بين أهل السنة فليس الغالب فيما ينقلونه عن هؤلاء الأئمة من مسائل الشرع الكذب بل الغالب عليه الصدق وفيه ما هو كذب خطأ أو عمدا بلا ريب وأقوالهم كأقوال نظرائهم من أئمة المسلمين. So Ibn Taymiyyah here, in English, he is saying the Shia consider their imams to be ma'soom like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they attribute everything they say to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They also regard the consensus, the ijma' of their sect as an infallible authority. Based on these three principles, they have established their religious laws. However, the majority of what they derive from the Islamic Sharia is in agreement with the majority of the Muslims, and there are some areas of consensus. Some matters are disputed among even Sunni Muslims. The prevalent view is that the statements attributed to these imams by the Shia regarding matters of Islamic law are generally truthful. As in Ibn Taymiyyah himself is admitting that the vast majority of Shia narrations regarding fiqh and Islamic law are truthful. However, there might be some instances of unintentional or deliberate falsehood. Their statements are treated similarly to those of their counterparts among the Muslim scholars. In this clip, we see Adnan Rashid, this Nasibi, through pure conjecture, claim that 90% of the Shia corpus of hadith is fabricated. So let's do some basic math. If we look at what Ibn Taymiyyah says, he says that the majority of Shia transmissions regarding fiqh is accurate, it is truthful. He says that we transmit the fiqh of the imams reliably. Now let's look at the four main books of the Shia that he listed. Al-Kafi, Man La Yahdharuhu al-Faqih, Al-Istibsar, and At-Tahdhib. The last three are almost entirely fiqh. So according to Ibn Taymiyyah, the vast majority of those books are reliable. Now 70% of Al-Kafi is fiqh related, and that is about 12,000 narrations. That means that by the standards set by Ibn Taymiyyah, over 80% of our four main books of fiqh are accurate in what they ascribe to the imams of the Ahlul Bayt. But I could easily stop here. However, when we wish to refute the Mukhalifin, when we see that they have crossed the line of disrespecting our imams and disrespecting the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt, we must always have a response. So now let's take a look at what the Mukhalifin have to say about our A'imma alayhim salam. The first person we are going to quote is their beloved Imam Malik. In Kitab Mizan al-I'tidal by al-Dhahabi, in the Dar al-Kutub al-Ilmiya print, in volume 2, page 143 to 144, he says the following. Ad-Darawardi, and we see the bio of the Imam begins on page 143. On the next page he says, Ad-Darawardi قال لم يروي مالك عن جعفر حتى ظهر أمر بن العباس. قال مصعب بن عبد الله كان مالك لا يروي عن جعفر حتى يضمه إلى أحد. In English, according to Ad-Darawardi, Malik would not narrate from Ja'far ibn Muhammad until Ben al-Abbas rose to power. So this idea that the Sunni Imam had a great level of respect for Ja'far al-Sadiq is completely false. He only started narrating from Imam al-Sadiq when it became clear that the Nawasib were no longer running the Muslim empire. Correct? Secondly, According to Mus'ab ibn Abdullah, he says Malik would not narrate from Ja'far until he linked it with those narrators who are high. And then he would put Ja'far's narration after it. لا يروي عن جعفر حتى يضمه إلى أحد. He would not narrate from Ja'far as-Sadiq until someone else corroborated what Ja'far as-Sadiq said. This, in simple terms, means that Malik did not trust Ja'far as-Sadiq's narration. If we look at al-Bukhari, when we go to Kitab Minhaj al-Sunnah by Ibn Taymiyyah, volume 7, page 533 to 534, he says the following: وَقَدْ استراب البخاري في بعض حديثه لما بلغه عن يحيى بن سعيد القطان فيه كلام فلم يخرج له. According to Ibn Taymiyyah, when al-Bukhari heard some criticism regarding Imam al-Sadiq from Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan, he refrained from narrating a single hadith from him in his book, as-Sahih. Another example of how much the Sunnis love and respect Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq can be found once again in Kitab Mizan al-I'tidal, on page 144 of the second volume. He says the following, that Yahya ibn Ma'in narrated, خرج حفص بن غياث إلى عبادان. And of course, Yahya ibn Ma'in concedes that Imam al-Sadiq is thiqa. He says, خرج حفص بن غياث إلى عبادان وهو موضع رباط فاجتمع إليه البصريون. Now, for those of you who may not know Islamic history very well, Basra during this time was a Sunni center. Shiism was intensely disliked and persecuted in Basra. Kufa was a city that was far more Shia friendly. So Hafs ibn Ghiyath met with the Basrans, which, as we said, is a mostly Sunni, mostly Mukhalif city. So he said to them, or rather, they said to him, لا تحدثنا عن ثلاثة. Do not narrate to us from three people. أشعث ibn Abd al-Malik, وعمر ibn Ubayd, وجعفر ibn Muhammad. We do not want the reports of Ja'far ibn Muhammad. فقال أما أشعث فهو لكم وأنا أتركه لكم وأما عمرو فأنتم أعلم وأما جعفر فلو كنتم بالكوفة لأخذتم النعال مطرقة. So, according to Hafs ibn Ghiyath, he is upset with these Basrans. If you were in Kufa and you said this about Imam al-Sadiq, you would have gotten the shoe. طيب? We now look at Kitab al-Tamheed, volume 1, page 388. And al-Tamheed is written by the great Western scholar from Al-Andalus, Ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr al-Maliki records the following in his book Al-Tamheed lima fi al-Muwatta min Ma'ani wal-Masanid, in volume 1, page 388. In the bio of Ja'far al-Sadiq salamullahi alayhi, he says, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ هُنَاكَ فِي الْحِفْظِ ذُكِرَ ابن عيينة أنه كان في حفظه شيء. According to Sufyan ibn Uyayna, his memorizing was not very good. In Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, al-Dhahabi gives us another example of the respect that the Mukhalifin had for Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. He narrates in volume 6, page 91, the following. النسائي قال حدثنا أحمد بن يحيى بن وزير حدثنا الشافعي حدثنا سفيان كنا إذا رأينا طالبا للحديث يخشى ثلاثة ضحكنا منه ربيعة ومحمد بن أبي بكر بن حزم وجعفر بن محمد لأنهم كانوا لا يتقنون الحديث. So according to Sufyan, we used to laugh at people who used to take hadith from the following. As in, we used to mock and make fun of anyone who took these three narrators seriously. The last of them is Ja'far ibn Muhammad. لِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يُتْقِنُونَ الْحَدِيثِ, because they were not good when it came to hadith. Lastly, we shall quote Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in his report regarding Imam al-Sadiq in his famous book, Kitab Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. In Tahdhib al-Tahdhib, volume 1, page 574, which is where the bio begins, to page 575, which is where I will be quoting from, bio number 1120. Ibn Hajar records the following on the authority of Ibn Sa'd, the famous Sahib al-Tabaqat. قلت وقال ابن سعد كان كثير الحديث ولا يحتج به ويستضعف. He narrated a lot of hadith. Subhanallah, if you look at the Sunni book, you would never know that Ja'far al-Sadiq narrated a lot of hadith. But he is not reliable and he is considered weak. Subhanallah. But we are the ones who lie on Imam al-Sadiq. We the ones who accurately transmitted his fiqh according to their Shaykh al-Islam. And their other scholars such as Ibn Qutayba and Ibn Khaldun admit he had his own madhab of fiqh. Then you have the Sunni scholars mocking people who narrate from him, claiming he has bad memory, claiming he is weak in hadith. But subhanAllah, we are the ones who are fake when it comes to following the Ahlul Bayt. That's Ja'far ibn Muhammad. For brevity's sake, I will narrate or show one reference regarding Imam al-Khadhim salamullahi alayh. This is Kitab al-Thiqat by Ibn Hibban. In Kitab al-Thiqat, volume 3, page 251, bio number 573, Ibn Hibban records the biography of Imam al-Sadiq salamullahi alayh, and he says something about his son Imam al-Khadhim. يحتج بروايته ما كان من غير رواية أولاده عنه لأن في حديث ولده عنه مناكير كثيرة. Ja'far al-Sadiq, according to Ibn Hibban, is fine. His narration is reliable as long as it has been narrated from other than his children, because the reports of his children from him are very munkar. Now, when we look at another book by Ibn Hajar, and this book is known as Kitab Nuzhat al-Nazar, on page 86 and then also on page 110, he says, وَالْمُنْكَرْ رُوَايَتُهُ ضَعِيفٌ. Munkar is what has been munkar rawihu ضعيف, or ruwayatun ضعيف. The narrator of a munkar report is very bad. We further read فَمَنْ فَحَشَ غَلْطَهُ أو كثرت غفلته أو ظهر فسقه فحديثه منكر. One whose mistakes are abysmal, or his negligence is massive, or he has shown immorality, his hadith is munkar. So, according to this Nasibi, who claims that we neglect Imam Musa ibn Ja'far and we fabricate things on Musa ibn Ja'far, according to Ibn Hibban, who is one of their major scholars, he is munkar al-hadith. As he says regarding Imam al-Sadiq, his sons narrate munkar things from him. And Imam al-Khadhim salamullahi alayh is one of his sons. So, according to Ibn Hajar, this would mean that his mistakes are abysmal, or his negligence is massive, or he has shown immorality. Thus, his hadith is munkar. In any case, we will stop here, and the reason why is because when it comes to our imams after Imam al-Khadhim salamullahi alayh, Imam al-Ridha, Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, Imam al-Askari alayhim as-salam, alayhim afdal salatu was-salam, the Mukhalifin generally do not have biographies of them, because they barely have any hadith from them. Because by that time, the Shia community had grown so big that the Mukhalifin simply stayed away from our Imams, and our Imams simply did not care about the Mukhalifin. They were too busy teaching their Shia ahkam, teaching them aqa'id, and passing on the wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But with that being said, we'll bring this refutation to a close. I hope you all enjoyed. Please make sure to comment, please make sure to watch our other videos, and please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out greatly. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.